40 more minutes after my phone. I'll be done. I'll be done in about 30 minutes here. I'll try and drag us out to 30 minutes. An hour and a half video is good enough for this. Right, so great writers have a big USB to download the fluency. I like repeating myself. So great writers have a big USB to download the fluency in the English literature, but they lack the picture brain or the gift to convey those words in story form. Whereas great storytellers are the opposite. They have a picture brain to convey those words in story form, but they lack the big USB to download all the fluency in English literature. In other words, I'm not. So some of you guys may ask me, Ivan, are you saying great storytellers are stupid? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that if you're a great storyteller, chances are you're not that great of an English writer. You may be okay in English, but chances are you're not that good of an English writer, because our brains think differently. I'm telling you now, this is a scientific fact. I challenge anyone to prove me wrong on this. It is impossible for your brain this is a scientific fact. It's impossible for your brain to download all that information, the fluency of English literature, and also be imaginative. No fucking way, man. It's either you're imaginative and you're not that great of a writer, of an English writer, you don't have a big USB, or you have a big USB to download the fluency of the English literature, but you don't have the imagination to convey those words in story form. In other words, all these people who are smart, they have a big USB to download the fluency of the English literature, but yeah, a lot of them can't even write a book. Why? Because they lack the imagination. Whereas me, I'm not the smartest person in the room. I'm pretty smart, but I'm not the smartest person in the room. And yet I have an unlimited imagination. I can tell multiple stories. I can write a fantasy novel even better than Lord of the Rings. So let me keep saying this. Right? So great storytellers are the opposite. They have a picture brain to convey the words in story form. So if you're someone who's a great storyteller and who doesn't have a big USB, you're obviously one of those lucky people who are born with a gift. Obviously, because if you can write a story, you're born with a gift. You have a picture mind. You have a picture brain. Whereas if you're one of those guys who's a smart English student and you're able to pen down beautiful English, you're one of those lucky guys who are born with a big USB that can download the fluency of English literature, and you might have got it from genes, or you're just one of those lucky brains that happens to have a big USB to download the fluency of English literature. Whereas if you're a great storyteller, you're born with a gift. And no offense, I'd rather be a great storyteller than be a great writer. Like, it's cool to write beautiful English, but at the end of the day, no one cares about the boring words. It's much cool to be able to tell an amazing story. A story that happens to be better than Lord of the Rings. Yeah, because I'm gifted. I have the gift. So all these kids in Darcy who are smarter than me, well, supposed to be smarter than me, because I'm actually a pretty smart person, but because I don't want to be cocky. I actually, for grade 11 English, I got better marks than most of the guys in Darcy, man. But my point is, there are a lot of guys in Darcy who are smarter than me, obviously, and yet they can't even pen down their own fantasy novel. All these English students are much smarter than me. All these English students are smarter than me, and yet they can't even pen down their own fantasy novel, and yet I'm not as smart as them, and I don't have a big USB like they do. I can't write good English like they do, and yet I'm able to what? Pen down a fantasy novel, and fantasy novel has to be better than Lord of the Rings. Yeah, there you go. For example, all the English teachers that flunked me in high school, they have the USB to download the fluency in the English literature, and yet I guarantee you that they cannot write their own fantasy novel, or yet alone a fantasy novel better than Lord of the Rings. So all those teachers in Darcy who are smart, they all have a big USB to download the fluency of the English literature, and yet I guarantee you they tried to write a book and they can't do it. Why? It's not because they're stupid, no. It's because they don't have the picture brain to convey those words in story form. They don't have the imagination, the unlimited imagination. Because the reason why storytellers are able to tell stories is because they have a picture brain. Whatever they see in their mind, they can write it down. Whereas the people who are great writers, they don't have that. They don't have that picture brain. They have the knowledge of the English literature. So what they do is, and if they do write a book, what they do is they rely on their knowledge of the English literature to tell their story. But the story, I guarantee, will be boring because they don't have they don't have the picture brain to convey those words in story form. So all those teachers in Darcy who are smarter than me in English, all those kids in Darcy, or some of the kids in Darcy who are smarter than me in English, right? Some of the kids in Darcy who are smarter than me in English, right? They can write good English, but yet they can't what? They can't pen down no fantasy novel. It's not because they're stupid. is because they lack the creativity, they lack the gift to pen down what to pen down a novel, especially a fantasy novel. Fantasy is the hardest novel to write. It's one thing to write a novel; it's another thing to write a fantasy novel. Fantasy, you have to build your own world, you have to create your own characters, you have to make your world feel real. And I remember there was one book that I read. I read the book. I read an ebook a couple years ago. You can tell the author had amazing English. He had amazing English, but the story was boring. The characters felt dull. The land didn't feel real. He had amazing English, but the story was really boring. It lacked consistency. It lacked realism. The characters didn't jump on the page. The world felt fake. Why? It's because they don't know how to tell a good story. They rely heavily on their English language, but they don't have the picture brain to tell an amazing story. Because there's a lot of great writers who happen to be authors, but those authors are people who just write beautiful literature, right? And there's some books that are known for their beautiful literature, but they're not known for their commercial storytelling. Why? Because those authors, in other words, there's two groups of authors. There's the authors who are great storytellers and they can tell a great commercial story, and then there's the great writers out there who cannot write a good novel, but they can write beautiful written English, and they'll write a novel, but a novel will have good literature, but they lack the capacity to tell a good story. Because I told you, great writers do not have the capacity to convey those words in story form, but if they do write a book, chances are the book is really boring. It lacks consistency, it lacks realism, and the characters feel fake. They don't feel real. Why? Because they don't have the picture brain to tell a good story. Yeah, there you go. Right. So, for example, all the English teachers that flunked me in high school, right? They all had the big USB to download the fluency in the English literature, and yet I guarantee you they cannot write their own fantasy novel, and yet I can. All the smart English students out there in the world, right? All of them have fluency of the English literature, but when they try to write down a story, I'm telling you right now, I guarantee right now, or a novel especially, they struggle with it. Why? Because they lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. They've taken there's a lot of teachers. I guarantee there's even English teachers who are trying to write a novel. I guarantee you they even take creative writing courses. They practice the writing. All these smart English students in the world, I'm talking to you guys, right? All you smart English students in the world, right, who are A-list English students, I guarantee you guys write beautiful English. You try to write a novel, you take in creative writing courses, and even then you still can't write it. Why? Right? Why? In other words, it's not because they're stupid. No, it's because they lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. Just like I may not be able to write good English, but I can't write good English because it's not because I'm stupid. No, it's because I don't have the USB to download all the information of the English literature. I just wasn't born with that kind of brain, but I was born with a imaginative brain that can convey those words in story form. Whereas all these smart students, they may have the USB to download the fluency of English literature. When they try to write a novel, they struggle with it. Why? Because it's not because they're stupid. It's because they lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. Right? So it's just that they were not born with that gift to write a novel. Right? You have to have the. I'm telling you right now, if you want to write a good fantasy novel, because there's a lot of good writers who've written novels. My point is, if you want to write a quality novel, you need to have the gift, man. Especially fantasy. If you want to write fantasy, you need to have the gift like Tolkien. You need to have the gift like Brandon Sanderson. You need to have the gift like George R. R. Martin. You need to have the gift like Ivan O'Meara. You need to have the gift like J.K. Rowling. You need to have the gift if you want to be like Stephen King. You need to have the gift to write a story. If you don't have the gift, chances are you will not be able to you'll have a tough time writing a novel. And if you do write a novel, chances are it's a terrible novel. It's a boring novel because you lack the gift. You rely heavily on your English language. You have beautiful literature, but the story isn't flowing. There's pacing problems in the story because they don't know how to tell a good story. Yeah. Great writers they're not good storytellers. Great storytellers are not great writers. There's exceptions, obviously. There may be a few people out there who are pretty good writers that can write stories. But my point is, that's a rare case. In most cases, writers are not good storytellers, and great storytellers are not good writers. Just like most people who are good at math are not good at English, most people who are good at English are usually not that great at math. Yeah. Because their minds think differently, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Right? So to write a novel, you need to have the gift or a picture brain. And if a great, you need to have the gift or a picture brain. And I'm telling you right now, if a great writer happens to write a novel, chances are that novel is a boring book. The book may have beautiful English, but the plot has pacing problems, character dullness, lacking realism in the story. In other words, that great writer lacks the picture brain to tell an interesting story because he or she does not have the picture brain to convey those words, in story form. In other words, if there's a lot of great writers who've written books, but chances are if they wrote a book, chances are it's a boring book. The book has pacing issues. The world feels fake. The characters feel dull. They feel inconsistent. You know what I'm saying? Again, I told you I read a book. I read a good 80 pages of a fantasy novel. The author has amazing English, but the world felt fake. There were pacing problems. The characters didn't feel real. You know what I'm saying? You had amazing English, but there were pacing problems in the story. There's nothing worse with a book that has pacing problems. No, if you have a book, you write a book, you need your pacing to be consistent. There's nothing worse than having a book that has inconsistent pacing. No, keep the story pacing always. But these great writers, they don't know how to pace the story properly because they don't have the picture brain to convey those words in story form. They have the information they have the USB to download information fluency of English literature to write down amazing English, but they lack the pacing or the picture brain to convey a pacing, amazing story. Right? A story that has amazing pacing. They lack the picture brain to do that. So I'm going to keep saying this. Right? If a great writer happens to write a novel, chances are that novel is a boring book. I'm not kidding around. I'll bet you on this. I'm not going to bet, but I guarantee you, if a great writer happens to write a novel, chances are that novel is a boring book. The book may have beautiful written English literature, but the plot has pacing problems, pacing issues, character dullness, lacking realism. The world looks fake. The story, in other words, the story that the great writer, in other words, that great writer lacks the picture brain to tell an interesting story because he or she does not have the picture brain to convey those words in story form. He or she relies heavily on his or her English language, but he or she lacks the picture brain to convey the words in story form. So the great writer, he's able to even if he writes a novel, he or she relies heavily on their fluency of the English literature, but they lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. Hence why you get pacing issues, the characters feel dull, the story lacks realism, the story feels inconsistent, there's pacing issues, the land feels fake, the book is boring. Why? Because they lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. They're not born with a gift like me. If you don't have the gift like me or J.K. Rowling or J.R.R. Tolkien or Brandon Sanderson or Stephen King, if you don't have the gift like those authors, you're going to have a tough time telling an amazing story. Right? So to all you aspiring wannabe authors out there, if you're trying to write a book and you're a smart English student, so if you're a smart English student and you've taken many creative writing classes, and even then you cannot write a novel, specifically a fantasy novel, it's because you lack the gift to convey those words in story form. So if you're one of those students out there who's smart in English, you're an A student in English, you know what I'm saying? You want to write a novel or a fantasy novel, and you try and you just can't do it. And even if you have written some stuff, the story isn't working for you. You've taken some creative writing classes and you still can't write your fantasy novel. It's not because you're stupid. It's because you don't have the brain, you don't have the picture brain to convey those words in story form. And if you do write a novel and your novel has plot issues, has plot holes, has inconsistencies, because you lack the what? You lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. You don't have the gift, man. If you want to write a novel, you need to have the gift, man. Like there's some writers out there who've taken creative writing courses and their writing has improved a bit, and they may have written a book, but chances are that book is a boring book because they're not born with a gift, man. Whereas if you're born with a gift and you're able to tell commercial storytelling, you need to have the gift. Otherwise, you're going to have a very tough time writing down your facts. I'm not saying that you should give up. No, for all you aspiring authors out there, I'm gonna tell you right now, don't give up. If you can accomplish the task of writing a novel, at least you wrote a novel. Congratulations. But I'm saying I'm just saying this. If you don't have the gift, you're gonna have a tough time writing a good story, telling a good story. So even if you write down a novel and your novel has plot issues, inconsistency, and it lacks pacing, all that stuff, characters feel dull, it's because you rely heavily on your English language. You don't have the USB to convey those words in story form. I'll end this video in a good, 14 minutes. I'll have this video go on for an hour and a half. Hour and a half, I'll end this video. I'll go have a smoke. Right? And if you're a creative person who can pen down amazing stories, but you want to improve your English writing, you've read books, you've taken English classes, and even then you can't write good English, well, it's because your mind instinctively, great storytellers do not have a big USB to download the information. So me, I've read many books. I took English in college. I've read books. And every time I write English, even then I still can't. I don't have the USB. My English writing isn't the best. It's not because I'm stupid. No, it's because I lack the USB to convey those words. I lack the USB to pen down beautiful English. It's not because I'm stupid. No, it's because I lack the USB to write down good English. But I have an imaginative mind, to convey those English words in story form. Right? Like you saying, so if you're a great writer and if you're one of those English students and your dream is to be a successful author, I'm going to say this. If you're a great writer and your dream is to be a successful author, I recommend here's some noise upstairs. I'll drag it. I have 13 reels left. I'll drag it up for 30 minutes. So if you're one of those writers, and you're a smart teacher, if you're a smart English teacher, a smart English student who got straight A's, you know what I'm saying, and you really want to be an author in the future, and you tried your best to write a novel and you just can't do it. You've taken creative writing courses. You've written a couple chapters. The story isn't working for you. You have plot issues, pacing problems. It's not because you're stupid. It's because you lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. In other words, you're smart in English, but you don't have an imaginative mind. Whereas me, I don't have the USB to download the fluency of English literature, but I have a very imaginative mind. Hence why I'm able to tell stories. I'm so creative. I even know how I want Zayn's to start. I already have an idea of how I want my movie to start. My Last of Zayn's movie to start. That's how creative I am. I have all these pictures in my mind, and I'm thinking, oh my god, this is how I want the movie to start. Yeah, because I have the gift. I have an imaginative mind. Whereas a lot of these guys who are smart in English, who have the big USB, they can write good English, but they don't have the imaginative mind to convey those words in story form. Because they lack the gift, they lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. Right? So if you're a creative person, you can pen down amazing stories, but want to improve your writing like me. You've read books, taken English classes, and even then you can't write good English. Well, it's because our mind instinctively, great storytellers do not have a big USB to download the fluency in the English literature, but they have a picture mind to convey these words in story form. While great writers are the opposite. They have a big USB that downloads the fluency of the English literature, but they lack the picture brain to convey those English words in a masterpiece storytelling form. When I mean they lack the picture brain, I mean they lack the picture brain to tell a commercial masterpiece story. They like a great writer may be able to write a book, but chances are that book is boring and it has main problems. It lacks consistency. It has issues because they don't have the brain to convey those words from. Just like a great storyteller may be able to write a good essay, his English may be not bad, but at the end of the day, he doesn't have that USB to write down beautiful English. Whereas a great writer, they may even if they happen to achieve the task of paying down a fantasy novel, chances are that novel is boring. It's a terrible novel, and it lacks consistency. It has pacing issues. It has character dullness. Why? Because they lack the USB. Oh, sorry, the picture brain to convey those words in a masterpiece storytelling form. So if you want to write a masterpiece like Lord of the Rings, Way of Kings, Brandon Sanders's Way of Kings, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, George R. R. Martin's Game of Thrones, you know what I'm saying? Patrick Rothfuss's I forget what his book's called. Name of the Wind. Yeah, you're welcome to promote your book out there. If you want to be able to write masterpieces like that, you need to have the gift, man. If you don't have the gift, you're gonna struggle. You're gonna struggle writing a book, man. And if you do write a book, chances are it's a terrible book, and chances are it's a boring book, and it has plot issues. Because why? Because people who are great writers, they don't have the imaginative mind. They have a big USP, but they don't have an imaginative mind. Right? And hence why I'm able to write an amazing fantasy novel, even better than Lord of the Rings itself, because I have the gift, while all those smart English students and teachers can write good English, and even write good English, they can write nice essays, write nice response, write nice papers, write nice English papers, but they can write good English, but they do not have the gift to write an amazing story. Don't hate me. Right, so for the next 9 minutes, I'm gonna briefly read what I just said. I'm gonna keep saying this. If you're a great writer, chances are you're not a great storyteller. If you're a great storyteller, chances are you're not a great writer, as it's impossible for your brain. It's almost impossible. Like there may be some people who can do that, but I highly doubt it. It's hard for your brain to be able to, like, having your brain download all that information. That's a lot of processing already. A lot of processing. It's very hard for your brain to be able to have all that USB It's very hard for you to have your brain download all the information of the English literature at the same time be imaginative. Very hard for your brain to do that. Hence why there's two minds. Hence why I'm calling this video Two Minds. There's two minds. One mind has a picture brain, has a gift, very imaginative, and they're able to convey those words. They're able to convey what they see in their mind on paper. Hence why they're able to tell stories. Whereas another mind has a USB to download fools of English literature, but they lack the picture brain or the imaginative mind or the gift to see. They lack the gift. They lack the ability to see what they want to write down, what they want to write down in story form. They have the smarts to write down beautiful English, but they lack the see. They lack the picture brain. They lack the picture brain to see what they want to write down. And because they can't see what they want to write down, they rely heavily on their what? Great writers rely heavily on their fluency of English literature to tell a story. But I'm telling you now, you'll catch it right away. Chances are, if they write a book, it's a boring book. A boring book, beautiful literature. You may win a Nobel Prize in literature or something like that, but you lack the ability to tell an amazing masterpiece commercial telling story, because you don't have the gift. You lack the gift. Don't hate me, you know what I'm saying? You lack the gift to tell a great story, right? Whereas great storytellers, they lack the USB to down the fluency of the English literature. So one is a gift. One mind is a gift. The other is intellectual. One is intellectual. The other one is a gift. So people who can write down great English, they have an intellectual mind that can download the fluency of English literature. Smarts, obviously. One's smarts. The other is a gift. So you can write good English. You obviously have a smart brain, an intellectual brain. One is intellectual brain that can download the fluency of English literature, but you lack the gift. You lack the picture brain to convey those words in story form. whereas the other is a gift, and hence why I'm able to tell stories. I'm able to write down. I'm able to write a fantasy novel, even Bear Lord Rings. I'm not kidding around. Once all my so-called friends in Darcy who put me down, all these teachers, once they read my book, they're all going to be shocked. Oh my god, I can't believe Ivan wrote this book. Ivan wrote a book better than Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm saying? And yet, like all of us, we got better marks than Ivan. We got better marks than Ivan. You know what I'm saying? We're smarter than Ivan, and yet we can't even write down a fantasy novel better than Lord of the Rings. And Ivan could write a fantasy novel better than Lord of the Rings because Ivan has a gift and they don't. And that's why, right? And now I understand. It finally hit me. I now know why everyone in my life treat me like shit, man. Because they're envy, man. They like, I don't know. Ivan's gonna be king. Ivan's gonna be multi-billionaire. You know what I'm saying? He has the hottest wife in the hottest. He has a hot wife, the hottest wife, hottest woman in the world. He's gonna be living forever in this world. He can't age. You know what I'm saying? He's gonna be multi-billionaire. He's gonna be a movie star. He wrote an amazing book, better than Lord of the Rings. He's gonna be the king. He's gonna be the main showrunner in the world. Yeah, all these people in my life, they're all envious of me. Hence why they all treat me like shit because of their envy. Obviously, they saw the future. In other words, they all saw the future. I don't know. In 2022, Ivan will be king. In a good 14, 15 years from now, Ivan will be king or something like that. They all saw the future, and hence why they all treated me like shit. All the teachers. I remember one teacher. She's like, "Ivan, are you surviving in school?" She told me, like, it's so rude. Ivan, are you surviving? I'm like, yeah, are you surviving? In other words, all these teachers, they all put me down. Ivan's such an idiot. And I'm able to write down a fantasy novel that you can never write. I wrote a fantasy novel better than Lord of the Rings. And I'm going to be a multi-billionaire. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to live in this world. Yeah. And that's why these teachers all treat me like shit. Because they're all jealous. They all knew in the future Ivan will be king. He'll be writing an amazing fantasy novel worth billions, better than Lord of the Rings. I'm not kidding around. I'm reading Two Towers right now. I'm enjoying Two Towers a lot more than Fellowship of the Ring. I find Two Towers is a better book than Fellowship of the Ring. Because Fellowship of the Ring, it's pretty much it starts off with a journey. It starts off with it's just a journey of Frodo, Merry, Pippin, Sam. They're journeying to Rivendell, and then they end up meeting the others, and they go on their journey to what? Through Moria. Like it's not bad, but like Two Towers, you have more characters. Two Towers it feels more like Two Towers. A lot more things are going on in the book than Fellowship of the Ring. But I told you, Peter Jackson, yeah, he did an amazing job with the movies, but the movies are like 25% of the book, man. I'm not kidding around. In Fellowship of the Ring, in Fellowship of the Ring, when Frodo leaves the Shire, he's 50 years old. Whereas in the movie, they have him look like he's in his 20s. Frodo was like 50 years old when he leaves when he leaves the Shire. And remember that scene when Gandalf went to go get information? Remember he's like, keep it secret, keep it safe. Remember that? Remember when he goes and he reads the paper. He reads the paper and he comes back and he sees Frodo. In the book, Gandalf comes back like 9 years later. 9 years later, Gandalf comes back and speaks to Frodo. Whereas in the movie, they have him, he goes to the place, and a couple days later, he comes back and he tells Frodo about the ring. Whereas in the book, when he goes to find Gollum or something like that, it's like 9 years. He comes back 9 years later, man. There's a lot of differences from the book and the movie. For example, that scene in the beginning of Return of the King, when they break Saruman's staff, that's like halfway through Two Towers. That's not in the beginning. That's not in Return of the King. No, that's like halfway through the Two Towers book. When they break Saruman's staff and the ball falls down. Yeah, that's halfway through Two Towers. Yeah, man, there's a lot of differences in the book and movie. Whereas for me, I'm actually going to follow 75% of the story. Hence, and I'm going to add a lot of details to it. I'm going to add more details with Eretat, with Tacius. I'm going to add some more scenes, like 25% more scenes. But I'm actually going to follow the core of my Last of Frizanian story. And hence why Frizanian is looking at a best story ever told. A movie even better than Lord of the Rings. If it's done right, you're looking at a better movie than Lord of the Rings, man. And Lord of the Rings was a masterpiece. Lord of the Rings is a masterpiece story on motion picture, but you're looking at a better even movie than Lord of the Rings if Xanax is done right. That's how good my Last of Xanax movie will be. Well, this is it, world. I hope you enjoyed this video where I talked about the two minds, the great writer and great storyteller. I hope you enjoyed when I talked about the canon story. Whatever. Again, you have Jon Favreau, and Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, those are good candidates. Those guys have always a good chance to hire them. There's also J.J. Abrams and John Josh. They're busy in Hollywood. They're doing their own thing in Hollywood. So they're pretty much out of the picture. I also talk about the head chefs we want to bring on board. And you have guys like Eric Chong. He's a good candidate for head chef. The guy who won Master of Canada season 1. He's a good candidate too. Right. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned at the end of the month or early June, where I'll be making my Phase 4 announcement, finished groundly editing, and hence why you better stop taking for granted, as you only have 4 videos left of my final announcement. And once I make that final announcement, I'll officially say this is it for Ivan the Mayor. I'm officially signing out. I hope you enjoyed this series. I hope you learned from your evil and working. This is Ivan the Mayor. I'm signing out. Peace. And after that, I'll be ending my Michelin series for good, and hence why you're walking me to where I fucking saved your ass. As next year in 2022, it might get delayed, but next year in 2022, Ivan O'Mara will be king, and VJ will be king with him. This is Ivan O'Mara. I'm signing out. Peace.